I'm going to tell you right now, right up front, we're not going to dive terribly deep into the nuts and bolts of the solution because I want to focus really on the point, and that's the impact that cybersecurity events can have on your business. So I'm going to try to keep everything relevant to that topic there. Talk a little bit about numbness. Hopefully that's not what you're feeling halfway through this. And then also making a case for advanced security. So, ready to go? Start off with some statistics. So, in terms of the landscape, cybersecurity is something that is really focused on impacting the small and medium-sized business. And as a result of that, small and medium-sized businesses stand to have that greater loss because of this. All right? It impacts the well-being of the business greatly. And the sort of scary part about it is that most of these attacks, they're not targeted attacks. You hear about targeted attacks, right? Those are what you see in the news, but most of the attacks are not necessarily targeted. We're going to touch base a little bit on that further. So, decreasing risk. So the question comes down to it in terms of what should you be asking an IT provider? And that question really is, what is the value that you're going to bring to my business? Right? And that's a relatively simple question, but the answer to that can be somewhat complex. Right? So when you're looking at value, I want to talk about value in terms of risk. Okay? Rather than get into the conversation of are you protected, are you not protected, let's get very realistic about it and talk about risk, because there's always a little bit of risk. And risk, and having a sense of where your business is in terms of risk, is very important, right? Because a cyber event impacts more than just maybe a laptop, or a printer or a resource, right? When there's a cyber event, okay, it impacts your business as a whole, reputation, where it's seen in the community. Okay, so that level of risk has a very real impact on your business in terms of health and welfare. Okay, I lied. We are going to get a little bit into some technical things. We're going to look at these blocks here, right? So the blocks that you see, they actually kind of represent different vulnerabilities. Now, I'm going to venture to say that almost every MSP, okay, is going to be able to monitor the things you see on the screen to a lesser or greater extent. Okay? The idea with these vulnerabilities is that a threat is getting past these vulnerabilities in order to get to the resource that you are trying to protect. But cybercrime moves quickly. Okay, so the question is not, does my provider, are they able to see, these different vulnerabilities, but how quick can they see them all at once and correlate them, right? Because not one of these single vulnerabilities may be the recipe for disaster. Maybe it's a combination of the two. So the ability to be able to access this information, have it at their fingertips very quickly, is very germane to the concept of being able to keep the risk in check. So the idea, right, is that by being able to have everything under one umbrella, a platform that's able to view these things and correlate them simultaneously, that's how you keep a threat away from a risk. And as I mentioned in the beginning, that threat's very real. Right? 60% of small businesses close after a breach. 44% of those estimated could lose $10,000 or more. $216,000 is the average data breach cost for a business with less than 1,000 employees. So not only is it a matter of reputation, but it's also a matter of financial well-being. I like the quote. The reason is because it actually alludes to how this environment is ever changing. Okay, what used to apply 2-3 years ago doesn't apply now, and that set of criteria is not going to apply a few years into the future, right? So when you're looking at the platform that I referenced, prior to, the ability to be able to look at all those different threats. What's really important is how can your IT provider convey all of this into a language and a terminology that you can understand, that makes sense, that's tangible, okay? So we want to start with something that we can really convey the concept of risk. To do that, you have to establish a benchmark. And so these reports actually, they illustrate that. We start with a benchmark. Okay, we find out where all of the standing vulnerabilities are and assign you a risk score. Okay, then we can sit down with you and say, is this something you, as a business owner, are comfortable with? Right? And if you're not comfortable with it, the intelligence is there, the analytics is there that can actually tell us what assets need to be shored up. And it's a little bit more than that too, right? Because what's happening inside the system is only part of it, okay? It's also what happens between the seat and the keyboard, right? A lot of us have the ability to be able to impact what's going to happen in terms of how secure the environment is, okay? So part of the platform, okay? Part of this whole profile, what that allows us to do first off is to establish a benchmark, find out where your vulnerabilities are. We can give that to you in a very tangible, realistic way, right? And then what Lake can do, provider can do, all right, is they can convey a roadmap. How are we going to improve that? How are we going to shore up those vulnerabilities? And then let's constantly monitor it. Right? So this is not a snapshot. This is a constant monitoring. So hygiene is provided. All right, we're able to see if a new threat out there causes your risk score to go below the threshold that you're comfortable with. When that happens, a reaction can take place. Yeah, like there's a little bit of technical here, but before I go any further, does anybody have any questions? I'd actually like to open it up now. Everybody with me? Awesome. So I want to be able to talk a little bit about another important piece. It's not just the ability to be able to see everything, but a reaction plan has to take place. Right? There has to be a plan B. Because as I mentioned before, all right, cybercrime moves very quick and it adapts. So you can just about guess that most things can be penetrated. So having a SOC sitting by the revenue, a security operations center of technicians that's able to react, to mitigate any sort of possible risk is very important. And this is what they see. The SOC will see a risk happen. In terms of what they see, I want to back up just one step here, and let's talk a little bit about exactly how an attack happens. Okay, so first you have the bad guy, right? The threat actor. Okay. Now, in order to gain access to your business, we're going to probe around. We're going to look at firewall. You know, might look for an open RDP port. Once they do that, then they have access. Now they're able to make configuration changes. They can gain access. And they can create their own account. Now they're inside. Now, chances are a threat actor is not actually going to just come once. You know, they're going to want to take some data, leave, and then come back again. So creating a backdoor, a way for them to get back into the system easily, is really important for them. And then they take the information, and now they have the data. Right? So again, talking about business impact, it's not just the resource, it's what data was taken. Having a security operations center that's sitting there, that's able to see what data, look at it not so much as just a breach, but a security event. Okay, how do we protect your business as a whole? They can do that because with our endpoint protection, the endpoint protection that they can be able to provide, all right, they can see the threat actor looking into the system. They can see the probe. Okay? They can actually find out exactly where the attack started, where the attack is going. We're able to see when the configuration changes are made, the account is created, where the backdoor is, and then finally, what information was taken, where it went, and that way, you're able to go into damage control. Well, you can actually try to make a plan to be able to mitigate this alongside with your provider in a collaborative approach. So, almost on a daily basis, you see news about cyber attacks. The amount of information that you're able to receive on a daily basis is overwhelming. And I love the statistics, right? An infographic establishes relevance, gives it credibility. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, it can also sort of create a kind of numbness. We've all heard about some of the breaches up here, right? Home Depot, 75% chance data was breached. Equifax, even after the fact, less than 1% of consumers have frozen their credit. So what? So what do you do in that case? Well, first off, you don't want numbness to be confused with risk tolerance. And even in that, it's easy to happen. It's easy to get done. It's easy to start to tolerate that, right? Because when you look at security, it's really overwhelming. All the technical aspects of it, all the different measures that need to be taken, it can be, a sort of information saturation, right? But the idea is that you have an IT provider here, right, that can demystify that, simplify it. We can sit down with the reports. We can talk to you about real terms like risk. We can explain to you what a security operations center is going to do for you, how it's going to protect your business. And the goal is that through that conversation, through that collaborative understanding, some of the sort of bad information can be debunked, right? And business owners tell themselves these things, right? I have nothing worth taking. Well, the cyber criminal, maybe not so much, right? Because small and medium-sized businesses, they align with the goals of hackers, theft of funds, ransom data, getting sensitive information, being able to get your clients' information, right? Attackers, they won't waste time on my business. Well, not so much. I alluded earlier to Equifax, Target, and those are the really big newsworthy events, okay? But the fact of the matter is that most events are not targeted. Just think of it this way. Think of it in terms of instead of casting a very deep cast, right? Cast a wide net. Somebody's going to bite, and that's the game that they play. Some won't, but somebody's going to. The tools I have in place will protect me. Okay. So yes, the fundamentals are still the fundamentals, right? Depending on how many football fans there were in here, I was going to say that our coach in Pittsburgh would say the standards are the standards, except for defense. No football fans. Okay. So, Browns fans. I thought you would enjoy it because it's on our defense.
Don't talk about football with us yet.
Fair enough. Moving on. Okay, so bypassing basic security, right? So the fundamentals are the fundamentals. Well, the thing of it is that that's why the landscape is evolving, right? It's changing. So those standards, there are gaps. And that's something like the product profile protect will be able to expose. It'll be able to show those gaps. It's important to make it personal. It should be personal. This is your business. It is personal. All right? 14 million small businesses attacked over the past 12 months. 4 billion alone from WannaCry. Here's something interesting about WannaCry. I alluded earlier to the different elements, right, that can comprise an attack, the ingredients, if you will. So when WannaCry came out, some providers were running to make sure that the virus definitions were up to date. Okay? And virus definitions not being up to date, not good, but not necessarily critical to WannaCry. Right? Patching, some are also saying, well, wait a minute, hold on, I got to make sure my patching is up to date. Again, not a great idea, but not critical to WannaCry. it was when the combination of those two happened. That's when you were vulnerable to WannaCry. And the thing is that being able to correlate that's very difficult, unless you have a platform in place that does that for you and does it for you quickly. So some of the things that Lake's going to be able to do is they're going to be able to talk to you about that value. They're going to be able to put it in terms of risk. They're going to be able to go through documents like the one you see right here. I love this because not only does it allude to the various different ways that you can protect your business, but it also alludes to, guess what, 2-3 years ago, it probably didn't look like this. It was more like the 5 ways, 6 ways, 7 ways, right? It grew from there because the environment became more complex. Again, being able to map out your security coverage, being able to find out where your benchmark is. They're going to sit down with you and they're going to say, okay, this is where we need to go. Whether it's from educating staff, security awareness trainings, or sitting down and being able to look at where your risk threshold is and what it is you have to shore up in the system to be able to put that risk threshold at a level that's comfortable. So to summarize, the real risk of cyber attack is not necessarily just to particular resources, it's to your business as a whole, it's to the health and welfare of your business, right? Understanding the reality of the environment is not the same as it was before. That's why the standards need to be elevated. That's why gaps need to be protected, okay? It's not about selling the new and shiny thing. It's about elevating the level of your security protection so your business is no longer at risk. Putting a process in place continually drives an acceptable level of risk. You're the one that needs to be comfortable. And in collaboration with an IT provider or organization like Lake, you'll be able to do that. Looking at advanced protections and putting those processes in place that can live up to what you need to do and accomplish with your business. So I encourage you to start thinking about it, start collaborating, and developing a relationship that's a little bit beyond just, am I protected or am I not? To be able to sit down and have a real conversation couched around the concept of risk and be able to get the risk of your business the lowest possible amount with a plan B in place in case that does fail. And they can help you with that. So I'd like to invite Lake up here for any questions or any thoughts on this, and I'd like to open up to you all as well. And I'm actually going to step down for this part because I got to be honest with you, podiums aren't okay. I'm going to step down. I'll stand up with you. Hold hands and everything. What's that? I thought we were going to hold hands.
Just introduce myself. I'm Matt Combs. I'm the director of IT here at Lake Business. I need to introduce myself to everybody. So, and we're working with the team to get any questions? How much time do we have left?
That's from 2:50 and it's 2:36. Yes.
Lots of time.
All right.
Okay, any questions? Let's go.
All right.
Quick, how about, do you have, is there any benchmark data in regards to, say someone's data gets breached, and then by the time, if they're not using any kind of monitoring or any type of software related to looking at a roadmap for security, how long does it take for an organization to find where that breach happened? Because that's usually the first step of what you have to do.
Sure, absolutely. I think it actually addresses two very important aspects to the platform. Thank you for asking. Right, so the first part is finding out what the gaps are. Something like Profile Protect actually does that. That's the benchmark that's established as a whole. Okay. That said, when it comes to like endpoint protection, all right, once that's deployed, partners have actually said like as soon as it was deployed, they were able to find out very, very quickly, almost instantaneously, that not only was there a vulnerability, but sometimes they were able to find that there was active threat happening at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get your benchmark from doing a security assessment?
It's not really really yes, it is a security assessment, but maybe not in the traditional sense of work. When I hear security assessment, I kind of think of snapshot, but it does. It takes a security assessment, if you will, and there is both. And you brought up an interesting point that I neglected to mention, right? So there's sort of out of the box data. There's out of the box things that it's going to look at. But the fact of the matter is that not all. What's that? Not all environments are created equal, and not all resources are equal, right? Some resources are going to have more sensitive data, some are going to have financial data, some are going to have medical data. So there's not only the ability to be able to look at it from the standpoint of, say, out of the box, tried and true, right? There's also an ability for you to be able to, for Lake to be able to make adjustments, to customize, and to be able to look at certain resources with a little bit of a different lens. Did I answer your question? Awesome.
So you're saying you're working with, Lake's working with Continuum. You say working. Now, does Lake have its own SOC, or are you working with Continuum SOC to provide an additional?
Correct. Yes, we're working with Continuum SOC.
So at your SOC, how many people are actually monitoring your systems, monitoring the systems?
It's a very good question, and I mentioned that because our SOC was just very much so expanded, and that was recently, right? So the SOC is actually mainly couched in North America. Okay, most SOCs, if you're not familiar with the SOC, how many people are real familiar with the SOC? Right? So most SOCs you'll find are blended to some extent, but the question is, where's the data, right? Where's the data go? So there's a difference between the data and the metadata. Okay, the data it stays within the U.S. The metadata may be analyzed elsewhere, but within the U.S.
This is really a question. If you could talk a little bit about, you mentioned how like numbness and risk tolerance.
Sure.
When you look at your Home Depots and targets, their stock price is at the highest level they've ever been. So in the end, what did it really matter? So from an industry standpoint, how do you start to continue to get people to focus on this? Because there seems like there's an attitude that says, you know what, the cybersecurity numbers out there.
Yeah.
This is out there. What different?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think there is a certain amount of truth even to that, right? I mean, and that's where you're looking at. That's why I don't necessarily use the term secure, not secure. Right? Safe, locked up, not safe, locked up. I'm talking more about risk, because risk, there's always a level of exposure. The idea is to keep that level of exposure at a bare minimum. The other thing is too, is that I think, to your comment too about stock prices and the welfare of the businesses, I think it's really important how business is able to respond to that. And you need the right tools in place. You need the right IT provider that is going to be working with you hand in hand so you can develop and mitigate that response. That response is really that's going to depend on the welfare of the business. Is that business going to close in 6 months, or is it going to thrive again? Thank you for bringing it up. Yes?
So just to clarify, for the printers, you deploy the agent printers for monitoring, for the security, for the profile protect?
For Profile Protect is going to focus on the endpoints. So by endpoints, I'm going to say servers, desktops. Okay, it's going to focus on the endpoints. When you're looking at some of the other products like detect and respond network and compliance, that is something that's going to go and be going through the network. That's something that you're going to expand more to other devices.